Hey guys, Horrorman back for another review. So today we're going to take a look at the brand new Kenner-inspired Terminator 2 Power Arm Terminator made by NECA Toys. Now I say Kenner-inspired because this is actually inspired by those original Terminator 2 movie toys that came out in the early 90s. Now just taking a look at the packaging, you can see it actually uses the same graphics on the background as the original figures. You even have a little drawing of the Power Arm Terminator in the top right. Also says warning, ages 17 and up, Power Arm Terminator with spike arm and grabbing claw. So pretty cool. You can see the figures clearly displayed. Got a little hanger at the top in case you want to put on the wall. And then flipping around to the back, you can kind of see some of the other figures. Some of the ones on the, well, all the ones on the top row are actually the Kenner-inspired line. Then you have the Ultimates, and then you have this brand new one, which is the John Connor that comes out. That's the next figure in this line, and you can see he has the dirt bike, so pretty cool. You got the NECA logo down here, done in this kind of old style writing, kind of like another nod to Kenner. Got the UPC code, and it says Real Toys. And then there's also a little read-up description for the Power Arm Terminator if you want to go ahead and read that. And here's a little bit better look at that John Connor picture on the back, and you can see it says new. Very cool. I'm very excited for this figure. And here's all the Terminator figures so far for the Ultimate line and the Kenner line. Now if you see the endoskeleton, which is the Endo Glow, that was actually a Comic-Con exclusive from 2015, I believe. So that's a pretty old one, but that was the original one for the Kenner-inspired line. But you can see they have some really cool figures in this line. Now there is a lot of other older Terminator 2 figures. They're just not all pictured on the back. That's about it. So let's go ahead and get this figure out of the packaging and take a closer look. Alright, and here he is out of the packaging. Now I did actually put the regular arm, the left arm, back on him, but we'll go ahead and take a look at those like more mechanical looking arms later in the review. But first things first, let's go ahead and take a nice close-up look at that head sculpt. So taking a closer look at the head sculpt, you can see the details are really well done here, just like what we've kind of been accustomed to with the NECA Terminator figures. He's got that really heavy battle damage on that right side of his face, but then his left side of the face is not quite as bad, though it still does have some significant damage in certain spots. But yeah, overall, really good likeness of Arnold, and I really like the way they've done the damage. So if you take a look at the left side of the face, you can see just a little bit of scars going on. Nothing too crazy. You do get a nice scar on that cheek. And then over to the back of his head, you can see a huge piece of hair is missing. The right side of the face is where we're going to see a lot of that heavy damage, and you can kind of see where the hairline's kind of scraped up, and then just that whole side of his face is really showing the endoskeleton through it. So pretty good details on there. And then you can see little wounds in the neck, and of course you got some blood kind of running down there. And then just taking a look at the torso, you can see he's got this little grenade belt for the grenade launcher. Now this is an accessory we saw with the original Ultimate T800, and I think it's exactly the same piece, so nothing really new or different here. And that piece is removable. Instead of the leather jacket, this one actually has like a leather vest, which again I believe is just the same jacket piece that we saw with the Ultimate. It's just the arms are different, so it doesn't have the leather jacket sleeves. But this piece is soft, and I guess if you wanted to, you could probably remove it. The shirt is more of like a pink, which is made to look, of course, like the old Power Arm Terminator from Kenner. And in the back, not a lot going on, just a little bit of details in the jacket, like the bullet wounds and things like that. And down to the lower part of the figure, again, it's pretty much what we've seen already with the Ultimate figure. He just has like the black leather pants with the biker boots. You can see like a little belt here. And again, just like the wrinkling and details going on are really nice. Got some dirt on the boots, which is a nice touch. And the arms are nicely done. You can see he's got that classic Arnold musculature. And on the left arm, which is the removable arm, he also has like a little wristwatch. Alright, so taking a look at the articulation, it's pretty much what we've already seen with the T800. So if you have that figure, pretty much the same. But anyway, you can move the head pretty good to the left and to the right, but it can pop off. It's one thing about this figure I've noticed, I've had a little issues with. He can look down pretty far, he can look up very far. It's a pretty good articulation there. The arms go out decent enough. And then they go down pretty far, but I think this one sticks out just a little bit, might be because it's that removable arm. He's got the single hinge on the elbow, but again, this one arm's a little finicky. You have to work it in a little bit, but he does have a single hinge articulation on the elbow. You can turn the wrist pretty good. He can cradle the wrist like up and down a little bit, like a hinge. He can move the waist pretty well. No ab crunch, just going to be a waist swivel. The legs can go out pretty far. Now on the right leg, he has a single hinge knee joint. And then he does have articulation at the feet, so he can go up and down on the boot. And he does have ankle pivot. So with his left leg, you get a little bit different articulation. It's still going to have the good range, the same range as you got with the other one. However, you actually get a thigh swivel, and then you also get, you do get the single hinge knee, which is a little tight because of that thigh swivel. It kind of makes it a little bit hard to move. Then you also get a boot swivel, and you get the same kind of ankle pivot and articulation. And I think that leg, the reason they did that is because they originally wanted to make a Harley Davidson for the Arnold, the Ultimate Arnold, but they never made it. I think they just couldn't get the rights to Harley. But you do have that extra articulation in that left leg. Now what really makes this figure shine is the accessories that you get for him. Now the first one you're going to get is this, just a weapon that we've seen him get before. It's just like a little blaster that he can hold, and I like the detail on here. It's just silver and black, pretty much the same we've seen with the original T800 robots that they've come out with. And if you want him to hold it, he does have the trigger finger. So once you get it into his hand, he should hold it pretty good. And again, I really like the silver paint apps on this. Definitely a really cool looking piece. And here's one more closer look at that blaster, and again you can see all the different black and silver details going on in there, and then the different pieces of the gun itself. Now the one thing I would say is be really careful with this little lower part. I know with the older robots I've actually had these break before, so just be a little leery of that. Now, unlike most of the other T800s, you only get that one futuristic gun, but he does have that perfect hand with the trigger for holding other guns. So if you want to put a handgun or something in there from the other Terminators, you should have no issues. But really where this figure is going to shine is the power arm. So in order to put the power arm on here, you're going to want to go ahead and pop this arm off, which is fairly easy. It's just going to be a straight peg. And I said before that if you want to, you could remove this vest, and it does seem like that's pretty easy to do that. And then you have another peg for the power arm itself. So you just go ahead and put that right in there, and it should snap in place whenever it actually fits in there correctly. Alright, so here is his power arm. And man, the details in this thing are so good. you can kind of see these different pistons in here, and then just different pieces of this more futuristic weapon all like throughout here, and it's just a lot of details going on. And looking at the other side of the power arm, you can see even more details all throughout here. So just really, really great. I love how this is done. Now you do get a couple different attachments for this. So the first one's going to be the rocket, which is done with that same color scheme, just like the silver, with some of the brushwork on here. And it's just pegs right in. So nothing real hard to get that in. So pretty cool if you want that like classic like rocket firing look. Now it is worth noting that this will not shoot off like the original. And then the second attachment you have is the claw, which is a really cool attachment. And then you can display this either way. You can kind of have it more flat, or you can have it to where the claw kind of shows. Now one thing really cool about this is there's actually a working piston on both sides, so you can actually adjust this and the piston will go up and down. And then the same thing for the reverse side, the piston will move up and down. And this is to kind of put like an enemy's head in here or something like that. So it's the same connection as the other one. So if you want to connect that, you just have that claw hand going on. And again, the articulation works pretty good. Now I will say that it's a little tight first out of that box, so if you want to loosen it up a little bit, it is a little scary when you hear the paint, but it will loosen up and you will get a good range of articulation with that claw. Alright, so you do actually get some articulation with the power arm. You're able to kind of spin it a little bit, so you can go in and out at the shoulder part. You can go up pretty high, all the way down, go out just a little bit, so you can't go out too far. But yeah, it can kind of, almost has like a little bit of a swivel, I guess, where the bicep would be. And then you also do get a hinge right here, so you're able to kind of, it's almost like an elbow joint, so you're able to actually bend the arm pretty far, which is really nice because the original definitely didn't do that. So you can get a decent bend there. And then at the very end, like where the claw is, or if you have the missile part, you are able to twist that. And of course with the claw, you can move the claw, so which is really cool. And you can move the claw at two different parts. You can move it here, and then you could also move it where the hydraulic is. So overall, some pretty good articulation with that power arm. Now it's worth noting that if you have any of those T800 Ultimate Terminators, you should be able to use the heads from that. So I went ahead and put the T800 sunglasses head from the Ultimate Terminator 2 on here, and it fits just fine. And you can even use the Ultimate Terminator 1 heads for this figure. This is just the original Terminator 1 Ultimate, and you can see the head fits pretty good. Now there is a little bit of a skin tone difference between the arm and the head. It's not horrible, but it is worth noting that it's there. Alright, so for the first comparison, here is the NECA Power Arm Terminator next to the original Kenner Power Arm Terminator. And you can see these are really similar. Now of course you do have the color scheme is really close. This one had a little bit more of a glossy look to it, and the skin tone is a little bit more like tan. So this one's got a little bit more of like a reddish tint to his skin tone. But overall it's a really good translation from vintage toy to modern toy. Now, a couple differences between the original and the NECA version. The original actually had multiple arms, whereas the NECA one, they just give you pieces to interchange on the end of it. So that's one big difference. And then another big difference is kind of like what I touched on. The original actually was able to fire off the missile. So if you just press this button, you could actually fire the missile off. And then one more subtle difference here between the two. Now the original arm that came with the Kenner version had like battle damage on it. So with the remake, it's a more clean arm, but again, yeah, you can see the arm's pretty torn up on the original. And then another thing is, of course, this one has the watch on, but with the original Kenner version, he had this goofy metal like finger on here, which I never quite understood why. I remember RoboCop, he had a finger like that, but I can't remember it in Terminator. So that's the one thing NECA did not include with theirs, which I'm totally fine with, but I wouldn't have minded it just because it would have been a complete remake. So the arm that's included is much different than the original. And then for the last comparison of the Kenner versus the NECA Power Arm Terminators, here is the original Kenner Terminator with the original heavy metal motorcycle, which was a little optional piece that you can get for that Terminator. And then this is the Maisto Harley Davidson Fat Boy. Now this is not made by NECA, but it is made by Maisto, and it does work with that NECA T800. So pretty cool that you can get motorcycles for each of these figures. But man, I wish NECA could make at least the heavy metal motorcycle like an update, or maybe one day we'll get a Harley Fat Boy. But overall, these look awesome next to each other. For the next comparison, here is the NECA Power Arm Terminator 2 Terminator next to the Ultimate T800 Terminator 2 Terminator, also made by NECA. And you can see there's definitely a lot of similarities going on. Mostly the full body looks to be about the same as this power arm. You do have some subtle differences like the sleeves, the gloves, but the interchangeable heads will work with both, like I said. So overall, really cool. And here's the Power Arm Terminator next to both of the Ultimate Terminator 1 Terminators. And you can see there's a lot of different looks going on. And these are definitely not a complete reuse compared to the original Terminator 2 Ultimate. So just really cool how much different of looks he's had in these movies. And here he is next to one of the NECA T800 robots. Now he also comes with that same gun as the Power Arm Terminator comes with. Pretty much the same as this, a little bit different paint job. And here he is next to the NECA Ultimate T1000 Motorcycle Cop and the NECA Ultimate Sarah Connor figure. And you can see these all scale pretty good together. Here he is next to the Ultimate Part 4 Friday the 13th Jason and the Ultimate Chucky from the Child's Play series. And for the final comparison, here he is next to the Marvel Legends 6-inch scale Winter Soldier figure. Now this does have the Bucky head from that 2-pack. But yeah, you can see these definitely are not in scale, just a little bit off. This is 6-inch, this is 7-inch. But they definitely both have the power arm thing in common, so pretty cool. Alright, so that's my review of the NECA Kenner-inspired Terminator 2 Power Arm Terminator. And overall, I gotta say, this is a really fun figure. I think for people that grew up in the 90s, especially when this movie was in theater, if you're able to see it and collect those toys, this is really going to connect with you. And I think this is 100% a must pick up. It's something really different to add to the collection, and it's not going to have that like pixelated style that's kind of not for everyone, but I really think this one really offers something that we really haven't seen in this line before. And overall, it's just such a cool figure. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this one if you've been collecting the line. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. So thanks for watching my review. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment or question if you have one. Please like the video. Until next time, guys. See ya.